Hi, and welcome to the brand new podcast called Being Da. It's a podcast brought to you by myself, Joe, and my good friend Doug. We are both dad coordinators here at Homestart Glasgow South.
And we are part of the Homestart Scotland network. We're a UK charity. There's 30 offices across Scotland and 330 across the UK, and there's a couple overseas as well.
Yep. And so we thought we would bring you a wee podcast for first-time dads, or dads or birthing partners who just want a wee refresher course. It might be a wee while since you've
had your first child, maybe.
Or your last
it's
child.
Not uncommon to have quite a gap. And this is a podcast that has been in the making for a little while. We've had a few bumps in the road, but Joe and I, this is the first time we're doing one. Mm-hmm. So go easy on us in the comments section. We're doing our best. We hope it is helpful and beneficial to you.
And it runs. The plan was to run this parallel to our antenatal workshop that we provide, and this is the main reason for this podcast. So we do an antenatal workshop in the Glasgow area. We've been doing it online for some time now.
Mainly during the pandemic,
because
like
COVID.
Most people had to.
Mm-hmm. But we all got sick of the Zoom meetings and video calls, so we've moved back to face-to-face. It's really great being back to face-to-face.
And we're doing that in the new Victoria. I think video online conferencing was great during the pandemic for at least the first bit, then we all got tired of it. But being face-to-face, I think there's a better connection with people, and it's great to be doing that. You forget what benefit there is. And so being back has been good.
And the antenatal workshop itself, it focuses from the dad's point of view. We're not taking anything away from mum, or we're just trying to give dads a bit of knowledge and a wee bit of more wisdom on
what's
what
your
to
role
expect,
in this?
And what can you do to help them.
Do you stand in the corner and quiver or cry or fall down? What do you do?
And the great thing about this workshop is absolutely free. Don't charge a penny for it, and you might get a free Mars bar.
Yeah, it's if Joe or myself haven't eaten that already. Like I say, it's in the New Victoria Hospital. You can book online on Eventbrite. You just need to search for Homestart Glasgow South or Dad's Antenatal Workshop. It's free. It's all online booking. You'll get an email from us beforehand. We'll see you during the workshop. You'll get a resource pack, and we'll also do some follow-up work afterwards. You're most welcome to look at that. Booking goes quite quickly.
So it's once a month, and it's on a Wednesday, so it's mid of the month, normally on a Wednesday, and we do have limited spaces, but check us out, book in. It is a really helpful resource. I do wish I had attended this when I was going to become a dad. It was really helpful.
I think it's we aim to support the dad or the birthing partner through the process. It is important. You're not just an extra on a film set. You're part of this. And exploring what that means for you personally is important. We could write 5 or 6 rules down, but what applies to you? Your own unique relationship with your partner, her dynamic, how does that work? So that's why it's great having it in person, because you get varied questions, and the conversations can take, I find, a better direction when you're all together in the room.
So check that out. Also in this podcast, what can we expect, Doug?
Well, we are looking to do 6 episodes in this series. This is our initial series, as I was saying. We hope that it passes muster and we can get a follow-on series. But hey, with what's in front of us, we'll work with that. So 6 episodes. You are most likely listening to us on YouTube. We decided not to video ourselves. We don't think the public's ready for that yet. But you may have found us on our Facebook page or on our website.
We are on most social medias in one way or another. So if you check us out, there will be links on our website to other activities that's going on. We also were planning on having some special guests.
We are.
On the upcoming episodes. So I think our first guest is going to be Ryan, who was the original Dad's coordinator here at Homestart,
Yes.
Glasgow South. And you worked for a wee while with him,
I worked with Ryan for a little bit. Yeah, I came in. He was before your time.
Yeah.
Here. So Ryan has been doing this work for quite a while. He established most of our key programs. Joe and I offer one-to-one intensive support with dads. That's one of the things we do. We also run various groups. But Ryan was also the creator of the Dad's Antenatal Workshop, and he also helped transition it online. And we ran that for all those months, and I think it was years in the end. So Ryan, extremely experienced. He's moved on to other opportunities, but it was great to have him back and to interview him around the issue of dads, what it's like to become a dad, challenging pregnancies and birth. Ryan will be covering some of that. It was really good to touch base with him. So that's going to be our very next episode. You will probably see that in the list of episodes right now. You will also notice we've probably only got 4 out of the promised 6. There's a reason for that. We would love to have your feedback. We want your questions, whether you feel they're daft or whatever. There's no such thing as a daft question, only one that is not asked. So please, in the comments below, or find on one of our social media or our websites an email address to send it to us. If you don't want your question out in the open, that's absolutely fine. But yeah, Ryan, I can guarantee that will be an excellent episode. That's the very next one. Who else do we have, Joe?
We also have Amy. So Amy works alongside us. She's the perinatal specialist. And Amy is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to
Absolutely
everything baby, breastfeeding, morning sickness, and everything in between. So she's really knowledgeable. She's a really good resource to have, actually. But during the interview with her, we're going to be focusing mostly on morning sickness and where dads can come into play and lend a hand, what to do, because most dads just think, I can't really do anything here, I'm just away.
And what is this all about? And,
this might just give you some insight on what to expect, some tips on what you can do.
That's a lot of what we're aiming for, is how do you be part of supporting your partner. It doesn't mean you have to be an expert and a specialist on everything, but we're hoping we can point out some key elements that you can pick up on and implement.
Yeah, definitely. And then we're going to have another guest, and she's a lady called Wendy McLeod, and she is a bespoke fitness coach who runs programs for new mums. She has her own website, does her own one-to-one classes, really knowledgeable on how to get back to full fitness after you've given birth, especially if it's an exciting birth.
Yeah, as we sometimes call it, yes.
Yeah, so really great interview with Wendy.
And I think importantly, it's not a case of, mums, you need to get back into shape as soon as possible, so you put yourself through the mill. Wendy very much advocates for a rational, reasonable return to fitness. No pressure, just work with what you got, and you'll hear it. Tune in. I think it'll be great. As dads, we need to understand this, because so much is made of pregnancy, and that's important, that's good, but what mums go through, and hopefully witnessing the birth of a child, you will appreciate a lot better what mums go through. I think we will never fully appreciate, because we can't do it, we can't experience it. So but we must do the most we can to get ourselves immersed and understand what's going on.
Yeah, definitely, Doug. And so that'll be the last guest, I believe, unless we find another one, who knows.
Well, some might pop up, I don't know.
So we've got Wendy, she's from She Restores, and does a great job there. So that's our guests for the foreseeable future. Who knows what will happen after that.
And like I say, drop questions, comments, or any suggestions you have for us. Who are we? So I'm Doug. As Joe said, I'm a dad's coordinator, and I've been working with Homestart for a little while. I have 2 children of my own. My son is nearly 12. My daughter's just turned 10. So the days of birthing, despite being long ago, I do remember those 2 days phenomenally well. With all the tiredness and everything else that goes on, 2 outstanding days in my life. Not all plain sailing, but character building. I wish I'd had a little bit more support than there was. Afterwards, and that's a lot of what we hope to address in the work we do, is having support for dads. But yeah, great days being, it's just amazing witnessing the birth of your child. It's quite something. I can't explain it to you. You have to experience it yourself. Joe, what about you?
Yeah, so I have two daughters. They are 8 and 4, so I'm a wee bit closer to the birthing age than Doug, but it was 4 years ago for my last one, and they were quite ordeals, even for me, who was just quietly there. So yeah, I remember the 2 days like they were yesterday, and in the 3 days after, because that was also quite an ordeal. It was quite stressful time for me, but they were great. I love my job here at Homestart. I have a great time. I run a few groups here. I run a group here, and
and a few others.
And I join other groups that are run by other people. But so I'm part of a few groups here. Love it. Love everything I do. We also, like Doug said earlier, do one-to-one support with dads. So yeah, it's a great wee setup we've got going. And
I run a group where we probably is the closest in terms of dads who come to Antenatal workshop. I run a group called Dads and Wins, and that is a weekly group, and we'll have dads who then, once baby's born, will come to us. So it's quite cool to see the progression. And we have a number of dads, and the function of that group is just to hear from other dads how it's going, what it's like. I mean, I'm not raising a 2-month-old in 2023, but these guys are. There are those who have had babies during the pandemic or just slightly before. So there's a wealth of knowledge and experience, and it's good to hear that actually there's no set formula or exact line to follow. Kids develop differently, they grow differently, they sometimes teeth all at once, or it's sporadic, and what is teething, what does it do to baby's body, that kind of thing, so with the child's body. And so it's great to hear from other dads that actually, of these 6 children here, they've all had different timelines and different things. It's just good to hear that there's no set, rigid, textbook way of a child growing and developing. So that's exciting to see, and it's
a great wee group. It's a great wee resource group. Your group, just to vent. Other dads can come along, and it's not like a group where you need to religiously attend every week. No. It's more of a come when you can kind of.
We keep it quite unstructured. Too.
So it's like, I've got 2 weeks paternity. Come along.
Oh,
I'm off for a year. Come along, brilliant. Bring the kid, the group I run is a wee bit older. It's primaries 1 to 4, and it's called the Dads Club. It's a great wee group. We do loads of arts and crafts. We do planting, a wee bit of gardening.
Do you destroy stuff?
We love destroying stuff.
Good.
It's one of our favourite things. We cut up all sorts of stuff. We get our hands dirty, get our shirts dirty. We have ruined a couple of school ties, accidental. But no, it's a great group. Dads love it. We have a few smallish in numbers, but growing all the time. So that's P1 to P4, and we do day trips and stuff. So it's great.
And group sizes, groups vary in size, and that often allows for different things to happen. Sometimes you can have a slightly more in-depth discussion, but I think the importance is being together and sharing the experience. I think that's important.
So they're great wee groups, and all the things that we do here at Homestart, for me and Doug, are focused pretty much on dad and supporting dad. So if any point you're struggling or you're check us out.
Yeah, you can self-refer. You don't need to speak to a health visitor or your GP. You can self-refer. That's absolutely fine.
We're on we're on all social medias, I believe.
I think so. All the big ones.
All the main ones.
Yes.
Yeah, you get us on your favourite social medias, and on our website, you can check us out there. Hope you enjoy the episodes that are coming up.
What are we doing today
in this podcast? So I think we'll start off. We're just going to talk about what you felt the first time you got told that you were going to be a dad. Mm-hmm. It's a big moment. Mm-hmm. I know I remember mine's pretty well.
Yeah.
And I know everybody's is different. Some people will have absolute joy. Some people maybe not so much. Yeah. And that's absolutely fine to feel these ways. There's no right or wrong feeling, positive or negative, whatever they may be. It's exactly how you feel, and it's relevant to you. So,
and to identify that and work from that, that's the idea.
When my partner told me that I was going to be a dad, she didn't know how I'd react. She took me to Starbucks, and her idea was that she wanted to do it in a public place, just in case I freaked out.
Other coffee shops are available.
Yeah, it doesn't need to, not exclusively, and I don't never drink coffee, so that was an odd one.
You knew something was up there.
Yeah, you meet me here and have a tea. So when she told me, I remember my first thought was, man, I'm too young to be a dad. And at the time I was 29 and I was nearly 30. And my first thought was I was too young. And yet some people might say that is too young, or some people that might say, what are you talking about? You're 30, you're really old anyway.
Yeah, you're too old.
But at that time, for me, I was absolutely too young to be a dad. Right. We weren't trying to for children. We were actually nowhere near speaking about it. We didn't think we were ready, but it happened, and that was the way of it. So all in all, it was great. The first thing I did after I found out is I went and sought out a friend, and I shared my fears about becoming a dad and all the worry that I had at that time. Yeah. And I vented to him, and I spoke to him, and I told him I was too young and what am I going to do and all this, and he was absolutely useless with his advice because he wasn't a dad either.
Is he going to hear this podcast? You hope he does.
I hope so.
Yeah. And, very good.
So he reassured me and that was fine, but it wasn't so much about him giving me advice. I think I just needed to get it off my own chest. Yeah. I could have spoke to a wall and it would have sufficed, So it was good just to get everything off my chest and say my worries and say my concerns, and then go forward with it and accept it. Yeah. And that was just my way of dealing with it. And I recommend if you're finding out you're going to be a dad and you're not sure how you're feeling, you might not be feeling anything, and wondering why am I not feeling anything? That's perfectly fine. Don't worry, guys. And if you need to vent.
I think a big thing is, and a lot of people will say the same, is that when you start to put something into words, that process of doing that is the start to understanding it better and to dealing with it. It doesn't fix anything per se, but it's a great start. Just so go to that friend, and even like if they don't give you any good advice, at least you've been able to start putting your thoughts into words, and that can start the process of thinking differently about it. For us, it was a little different. We were planning and wanting children, and we came along. So when we found out we were pregnant, my wife was pregnant, it was great. We're like, excellent, good. It's going to plan. That's wonderful. And I think for me the biggest thing was we mentally said, yes, we want children, we want a kid, and so he came along and he was born. And then it was the reality of actually having a child, which then was, there's that feeling you have at the hospital door. I don't know what it was like for you, but I saw a great sketch the other day on Instagram of this exact same thing. Was you've gone through this whole birthing process, baby's there, mom's ready to leave the hospital, you're there, they check that you can plug baby into the car seat, tighten the seat belts up, and they say, all right, great, thanks, see ya. And you're like, whoa, hold on, we're taking this kid and we've got to now raise it and feed it and keep it alive, and are you serious right now? Do you have any clue what you've just done? So I think that for me was more the challenge. Yeah. But it did bring, when you're when your partner's pregnant and you're expecting, it does start to raise the questions. Oh, what kind of father am I going to be like? Because do I know how to do that? Do I simply copy? Do I invent? I know there's no book for it, and we can touch on that at some other point, or maybe even today still. But it was so in one way it was quite exciting because it was new and it was just territory I'd never been on before.
Yeah,
and that's always good and exciting. And at the same time, daunting and like, oh, okay, wow, yeah, all right, wow, okay. And you got to process it. And how do you process it?
Yeah. Did you do a lot of research before you became a dad into what to expect, or was it trial and error as you were doing things?
Some research. I kind of, I mean, as we all know, there's tons of books and podcasts and videos out there, even back in those days, 2010, 2011, whenever it was. It was a case of some research, I think, combined with talking to people, observing people. And what was kind of interesting, in our friendship group at the time, there were 5 other couples who were expecting their first child. And I think our due dates were all within a 6-month span. So it was great having a group where you could just compare notes, like how's it going for you guys?
Yeah.
And of course the mums are there discussing morning sickness and cravings or whatever.
Yeah.
So for me, it was nice in terms of doing a little bit of research, but also that research was talking to people and just where they were on the journey.
I think you have a preset, I don't know how you were, but you have a preset notion of the father you want to be based on maybe role models you've got already. Yeah. I looked up to my dad a lot, and maybe a few other people as well that I thought, I like the way they do this, or I'm going to try and be more like this. Yeah. So there was a whole load of different people that I looked up to and was like, right, this is who I want to be, But then,
for me that was slightly different. Sorry, did I interrupt you?
No, you go.
I'm good. For me, it was slightly different. I grew up without a father, so in a sense, you're missing a template, an example that person. So. You can never really know what he would have been like as a father, and so in a sense, so how do you know? And I think the key thing is, and maybe this is the points I'd like to get back to when I mentioned manual earlier. We all like, you have a car, you get a manual, this is how you fix it. When this is wrong, this could be an issue, so check that, do the next thing. And I would have thought, I'd love a manual just to do this, then do that, and then when that happens, do the next thing. And I think the most important lesson I learned was that whether a role model definitely helps. I think it places you in a better position, but having to explore then what it is to be a father, it also helps you to explore avenues you may never have been able to, because you have this example before you, but I don't think there's such a thing as a perfect father. I'm definitely not. I don't think there ever will or has been one. And there's that, and we pick up things from parents and from other people, and so it's great to have a father, and it is difficult not having a father and not having had that role model, an example, but it then forced me to explore a little bit better what it meant to be a father. So that was challenging. So there is no manual, and you make that's that old saying, I don't know who to accredit it to, but you make the path by walking. And I think it's like, you know what? My exact circumstance is no one else's. Yeah. With my wife, with my kids, where I live, how I think, what I do, different to everyone else's. So what for my family works, what for my kid works, how, and it makes you look at the things you don't want to be. And that's, I think, a theme we sometimes come across with dads we work with. They say, this is what I saw and learned, and I don't want to repeat that with my kids. So
because it's kind of, sometimes it's a case of be the dad you always wanted and not the dad you got. Is some...
And yet at the same time, that feels harsh.
Because
what if my kid says that? be the dad I wanted, not the dad I got. And so, in a sense, I find this is the beautiful, difficult thing about this. We're in the midst of raising our kids. And I mean, I make mistakes all the time. You know, I didn't get hired for this job because I have some perfect record of being a father. You know, we make mistakes, and I look at a mistake, and you just go, "Oh, why did I even do that? I even know better than that." And so you go on this journey of saying, "Well, okay, I want to be a better dad, but what in me can change, should change? What can I actually, really, realistically change?" And how do I respond to my kid, and how does my kid respond to me? And I think a big part of it is getting out of our heads. Because I can draw up a plan, have ideas, troubleshoot, we can talk about it for days, months, weeks on end, whatever, until I actually do something with my kid. I'm not actually going to change anything. And so it's a very practical, hands-on, responsive thing. And that's what I really love about it. Like I say, I'm not perfect. I make mistakes frequently, but that's the joy. I think we enter into something that's alive, that's real. And it's not always easy, but that's fine too.
It's not, but it is great being a dad. And if you're listening and you're a first-time dad, you're in for a treat as well. It is really great. You know, the memories, the joy, the laughs, for me anyway, it's worth every minute of crying or anguish or stress.
I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.
No, not at all.
Nothing.
So, you know, with dads expecting, you know, or for people to become dads or waiting to become dads, and they're maybe doing a bit of research and saying, what makes me the best dad? My advice would be patience, in realizing that your time now, that you had all this time for yourself, even if you're in a relationship, you had all this time and you divide it up with your partner or whatever. Now that time is pretty much gone. Your free time is gone. And I think that's one of the things that you need to really adjust to, is that the time that you had, that you plan to do your hobbies or whatever, is now not your time. And I think if you can accept that, it makes it a whole lot easier. You know, I think if I was to look at the time that I had before I had kids and my hobbies and the interests that I had, many of them I still do. 2 or 3. I used to draw quite a lot. I used to do a lot of art, and I know I do that with work, but not the kind of drawing that I did as a hobby. You know, I was into hyper-realism and stuff like that, and I used to spend hours and hours on a drawing. I've not drawn a picture.
Can't do that anymore.
I've not drawn a proper picture in about 8 years.
How old was your oldest?
She's 8.
All right, strange.
So I've not done any. So that's it. You know, your hobbies change and your time changes, and I don't regret it. I don't say, oh, I can't draw anymore or whatever because I've got kids. I just say it's on hold just now. I'll go back to it. I love drawing, but
for sure.
And my kids, I love drawing with my kids. We do it together. Slightly different, but you know, it's brilliant. So I think be patient. And accept that the time is no longer all yours, and you're already onto a great start.
And when your kid comes, it's full on. And so at first it feels like a complete loss of all these things. And in a sense, that's true. But like you said, it comes back to you.
You'll get the time
And
back.
like with the drawing with the kids, that, you know, kids love it, you know, and each kid's different. Some kids may hate it. That's fine too. Absolutely fine. But it comes round. Yeah,
definitely.
It's really good. Yeah. So you say patience. I say, I think have a curiosity as well. And what's amazing is that this is all happening. I don't know. We don't hear this term often, but in real time. This is not a rehearsal. This is not when he's 5, when she's 7, then we'll do. You know, have a curiosity now, and I think with these things it builds. This is like an investment.
You're building a wee character, aren't you? You're adding traits and hobbies and likes and dislikes and you're really wanting to offer them opportunities. You know, that's really what you're there to provide. Obviously, you're there to provide safety and security and everything else that comes with that. But ideally, you want to offer opportunities and push their curiosities.
Yes.
And get them into something. And there's nothing more rewarding than going, I got my kid into this and she absolutely loves it, or he loves it. And that becomes a thing that they then do.
Yeah. I would put a slight warning on that, a slight one, and we can discuss this maybe in future, but, you know, there's this old thing where your partner's pregnant, the bump is there, and you start whispering to the baby, and it'll be like your favorite things, like you're going to like race cars, and, you know, Formula One is great, you know. That never happened in my house. And we kind of have this idea we project.
Yeah, we do.
And we've got to be cautious, because my son doesn't necessarily have the same interests I do.
Yeah.
And so it's something I've had to think about.
And just when you were talking there, we do absolutely promote talking to your baby when she's or he. I keep saying she, but
when girls,
So when your baby's when you speak to your pregnant partner, speak to the bump, sing to the bump.
Yeah,
they will recognise your voice. It's a great way of helping.
On day one, when they're
recognise
out,
you,
they will recognise who you are.
So I heard a theory back long before I did any of this kind of work, and I was curious, so I just kept whispering to the tummy, I want to be a cowboy. I want to be a cowboy. I wanted to know if, because we didn't know if we were having a boy or a girl, so I just kept saying, I tried to think of the most odd thing that no one would ever want to be. Yeah. And then she was born, and she's 8 now, and she's never mentioned being a cowboy. But, you know, I did tell her stories, and when I was reading her stories, I used to do an accent. When she was still in her mum's tummy, I would do this accent, and I would read this story, and then it was about a wee bunny, and then when she was born, she was lying on the couch, and I read her the same story in the same accent, same fake voice, and she spun her head round to see where this voice was coming from, because she recognised it right away. And it was amazing, and I still remember the whole setup of that moment, because it was the first moment where I was like, she knew who I was. She totally recognised me for that story when I was telling her in the bump, and it was an amazing feeling for me, because Mum's had all this time to bond with baby while she's been growing, and Mum can feel the kicks and everything else, and then you don't really feel anything. You know, you can put your hand on the tummy and you can feel a bump and everything else, but then when I seen her recognise me and turn her head and go, who's this? I know this voice. It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing feeling. I'm actually getting a wee bit joyous just talking about that.
It's a beautiful story. That's fantastic.
It's a nice wee story. So we absolutely encourage the talking to your bump. If you do come along to your antenatal class.
And please note that if in 10 to 15 years' time she wants to move to North Dakota to move cattle across the country, that's on you.
Yeah, right? Absolutely. But what I was going to say there is, with our antenatal class, hopefully we'll have some packs and stuff and things that we can cover. You know, activities that you can talk to your bump, talk to bump. Absolutely encourage that 100%.
Cool. So you can find the Dad's Antenatal Workshop online. The booking is on Eventbrite. As we said, it's monthly, so please have a look.
And don't worry, guys, we don't talk all about ourselves like we are now. This is just
you'll be glad to know.
The antenatal class is actually more facts, where a wee drop of a little personal bit of input, but it's all fact based. This podcast is a wee bit different, but
and that's its aim. It's just to add a little bit to. I mean, it would be great if we could sit down and have a whole day talking about these things, but people are busy. We need to focus on getting them prepared for a very specific, unique event. But we really hope that what we've spoken about today has been helpful, and what's coming in our following episodes.
Yeah, and I hope at the last 2 episodes, I hope we get some good topics. I hope you guys that are listening really can send us in some
no football questions. Could I put that out there right now?
I think
no football questions. I mean, I could have tried to answer them, but they'll be very short answers. Baby questions,
baby questions,
and pregnancy questions.
Being a dad questions.
Being dad questions.
Yeah. So you've been listening to the Being Da podcast. I've really enjoyed this session with Doug. I hope you have enjoyed listening. I look forward to the next episode where we'll be hopefully interviewing Ryan.
Yep, that's right. Look forward to that. I've really enjoyed this today, and we hope all of you have as well. So thank you very much for listening.